Welcome back to SwitchCorner. My name is Alex and today we're taking a look at FORECLOSED on the Nintendo Switch, a cyberpunk action-adventure shooter. There's no doubt it's got style, but can the gameplay deliver the goods to match, or does it just fall short? Well, hit subscribe if you love the Switch, as much as we all do here. Join our growing family, and let's get started. So here we follow the story of Evan Kapnos. His identity recently foreclosed. What does this mean? Well, imagine your life has been wiped away, no job, your brain implants, they're restricted of accessing the blockchain, and just generally no access to essentially live your life. Your goal here, escape before your identity and your implants are sold off to the highest bidder. It's quite the dystopian world we have here, and the story, it reflects that near immediately. With multiple characters though coming into the fold, you won't be going at it alone though, and along the way you'll be confronting those involved in this scheme, and also getting to the bottom of conspiracy, questioning who do you trust and why. The story, it's mostly pre-planned, but occasionally it does give you a dialogue option here and there. Wouldn't say it makes a huge difference, but it's still nice to feel like you're, directing that next conversation, and I mostly enjoyed it. I wouldn't say it's hugely original, but I think it hits all the right marks that you would expect from, a hard-edged, cyberpunk mystery. So gameplay, and while the game starts off relatively calm, within 30 or so minutes it throws a gun into your hand and it's off to war you go. What I didn't expect from this one is it plays out like a relatively standard third-person shooter with some almost walking moments in between. These moments are used to add, context and even the occasional environmental puzzle. Controls, though simple stuff: move with the left stick, turn with the right, zoom with the left trigger, fire with the right. You can dodge with a tap of the A button, and then you'll also be able to reinforce all of your action with upgrades of sorts, whether that's bullet types for your gun, or maybe a character buffer of sorts. With the gun you get 3 attachment zones, and then you get 4 personal abilities, think like telekinesis, a shield, and the ability to put out some pretty nasty explosions. You're borderline kind of think a superhero, but of the surgically enhanced variety, and then you can also duck behind cover with the tap of the left stick as well. What this game lacks though is any sort of tutorial really. It explains the occasional bit to you, but I had to figure out things like the dodge roll myself. If you actually tap the right stick when targeting your gun, it changes the bullet type, but it doesn't tell you why or what they do. Seems from what I can work out one is stronger with less accuracy and vice versa. Also then switching shoulders, a simple thing in a third-person shooter just so you can look around corners. It's an all-important mechanic in a game like this. Took me actually a while to get there, but you do that with the tap of the D-pad either left or right. The general gameplay then is wrapped up with the occasional minigame like hacking, which is following a few simple D-pad commands on screen. Actually really enjoyed this. It's simple but effective. You can make explosives go boom with the same system, and then there's also a few other simplistic but suitably futuristic mechanics that I won't spoil. The problem I have with this one though, it looks incredible. As you can see, it no question looks the part. It's modern, it's incredibly clean, it's unique for sure, but the gameplay feels just dated. The shooting contained here is what would have been genius, but maybe 10-15 years ago, pre-Gears of War. Here it just feels sadly a little undercooked. Here's the big issue I had: the game is designed for sure not to be easy. Life drops relatively quickly, represented by the screen going black and white, but you can't shoot when ducking or even shoot from cover. You can't even attach to cover. But let's say you're ducking behind something, the enemy's ahead of you, The only way to fire is to hold that left trigger, completely revealing your location because you stand up like an idiot. Now surely anyone in battle would blind fire or even, simply peek over. Maybe they just shoot ducking. Seems like a massive oversight, and it instantly makes the game feel just a little bit dated. It even lacks in melee combat, so if you get up close and personal, that's nearly always a one-hit kill, and you're nearly always on the receiving end because a whole lot of these enemies are simply bullet sponges. Its combat is shallow though, basically. It lacks any real luxuries that we would expect in the genre from today's standards. Where it does at least some way go to making up for it is its perk system, the power-ups that you can buy and attach, like the telekinesis that I mentioned. You use XP to do this. This is gained in battle. There's also some hidden objectives around the world that you can hunt out. Get XP though, unlock 1 of 8 options, you can attach 4, but just know they can also be overcharged if you kind of go too hard at it, so just keep a close eye on kind of what is happening. Here though, you can teleport foes into the air, turn bullets on them, add a shield, cause explosions, and then there's even those weapon upgrades, so think exploding ammo and armor piercing. You can even sneak up close on your enemies and overcharge their implants, killing them instantly. I think that's where I enjoyed this one the most, honestly, because the gunplay was kind of undercooked, so I tended to lean into stealth play. There's a few moments then where it kind of sticks you in the middle of a room near surrounded and you get absolutely destroyed, and the real annoying bit of it all, that last checkpoint can be 10 or 15 enemies back, so you'll need to kind of head into the gauntlet once more. It's a frustrating one though, because honestly it starts so promising, it's so stylized on a gameplay front, the camera, it's twisting, it's turning, but within 10 minutes you'll start to see its kind of issues. There's a foot chase, for example. When it opens, there's a little direction and you'll near instantly, I guarantee it, run into a dead end. You'll instantly at this moment get shot in the face and back to the beginning it goes. You recognize though the style almost leads to some trial and error gameplay. Then you get a gun in your hand and it's fun still, but it's also difficult not to sit there and say, I've kind of played this before but implemented quite a bit better. Performance wise, finally, for gameplay, it's decent. They are pushing for 60, but it is fairable. It's fluctuating a decent amount, I'd say. It's not hugely noticeable, but just occasionally you will see a more harsh drop, and the game has the occasional stutter as well. But I think it's pretty impressive performance wise, honestly, given all the moving pieces of the presentation, even if the worlds are largely empty of pedestrian traffic. Gunplay though, I noticed drops to around the 40 mark at the lowest. Overall, I had fun with the gameplay still, but what started as feeling like it was going to be unique devolved into a relatively generic ride with a few fun special abilities and the story to keep you locked in. But I can see why the eShop description places such a big focus on narrative driven adventure, because you definitely can't sell this one on the gunplay. Graphically, it's a stunner. I love the 3D, almost holographic style they went for, and it's an incredibly clever way of capturing the cyberpunk theme without needing to go, overly crazy on the detail. The streets here, they capture that sense of danger and controlled before washing it in neon. Our lead then has some style to him, hoodie and gun on hip, and enemies, while repetitive, they have a nice set of futuristic looking armor and weapons. Then we just get the general presentation itself, the comic book cells that move and transition with the camera, they look incredible. We'll be seeing inside computers, we gain an X-ray-like ability to see terminals inside of walls, all sorts, and yeah, while occasionally an object, might clip, may go a little bit weird, the art easily overcomes the minor shortcomings. I just can't name another game that looks like it, and I can see why I've heard so many people talking about this in the lead up to release. It absolutely delivers on that comic books to life. We even get text that pops up on screen for each fire of the gun or attack's landing, and it just completely builds on the environment. Audio then finally, and we get voice acting for the main cast. I wouldn't say it's of the best quality, but it's good enough with a solid supporting cast. And then Ethan sounds about as stereotypical as you would expect, like he just watched, Blade Runner, smoked a couple of 20 packs before he jumped behind the microphone. It though, I will say, works. He's kind of the angsty adult out for revenge. This reinforced then by a decent selection of effects for gunshots, attacks, all that good stuff. On an effect front as well, I wish they had taken environments just maybe a little bit further, but that is a minor complaint. Music then is a mixture of more atmospheric pieces to build this world and the scenario you're up against, and then also more of a kind of darkwave synth industrial vibe. I enjoyed it, builds the world, the setting, and there's a few good beats I'd be happy to listen to outside of the game world, and no doubt I probably will. So the final verdict and FORECLOSED, sadly it's a little style over substance, which is frustrating, and that's because it pays a big focus to gunplay, but that gunplay is just a little dated by today's standards. If you gave me that gameplay pre-Gears of War, I would have been more than happy, but now my expectations are just a little bit higher. But yeah, no ability to take cover and shoot while behind it or while ducking or even blind fire of any sort, it just feels incredibly restrictive, and the fact you stand up every time you shoot, it forces you into one bad situation after another, and then you die and yeah, you're 10 enemies back to suffer the gauntlet again. Other areas then though, just so strong. The visuals, sure, it has its issues, the camera can be a little weird at times and you can get a little lost, but you will not complain because that sacrifice for its incredible style is just well worth it. The best use of comic book styling I've seen in a long time in a game, and while the story it isn't groundbreaking, I think Cyberpunk fans, they will be happy. You know, conspiracy, implants, shady organisations. I just wish it didn't transition after 30 minutes to 80% gunplay, 20% narrative moments. An above average, a 6 out of 10 from me today. It's got a hell of a lot of potential, but it's held back sadly. What I will say though is, if you like Cyberpunk, or even the look of this world, the dated gunplay, it will still be worth your time, because I still walked away after the 5 or so hours it took me to beat, happy with the outcome, and I can't wait now to see where they go next, because no doubt this is a small team. Imagine what they come up with next, because there's no question that style, what they've done here, it is absolutely gonna turn heads. Will you be adding this one to the library though, or are you holding onto that cash? With that then, a shout out to the patrons of the channel who are just going above and beyond to support SwitchCorner. It helps more than you know, so thank you all so much. Then hit subscribe if you love the Switch, as much as we all do here. Join our growing family, and I'll see you all on the next video. Thanks everyone.